guys this morning. I've got my tea. I've got a whole bunch of information for you guys. I hope you are ready to learn a little bit more about you, about other people, about how and why we do what we do sometimes. And most importantly, for you to start applying these things that you're learning into your life. Start asking yourself questions, different questions. Start researching, figuring out, hey, what the heck is this? Is what Coach Velia saying making any sense to me? Like, could she be right? Could she be wrong? Find out. So I do have a huge goal when I'm on here is for you guys to really just self-reflect. I do want you to not just take my word for it. I want you to do your own research. I want you to understand that there are so many things in our lives that are literally in control if we have no awareness of it, right? And the brain kind of likes it that way. It kind of likes not being disrupted and thinking a little bit extra, right? Until you introduce new information, it knows that you're happy doing what you're doing, and it just can continue to repeat patterns for you. So it doesn't matter if they're good or bad patterns for the brain. I mean, as long as you're given the information and you're getting the results that you want, leave them alone. But if you don't like what you're getting, then you're in complete control of giving it new information. So today we're going to talk about an important topic, something that many people struggle with. And we're going to shed some light on procrastination today. So many people will avoid the topic. They'll look at the video and probably keep scrolling because they're going to procrastinate and they don't want to listen to it. So I do want to clear up a lot of common myths when it comes to procrastination. So today's going to be a whole lot of fun. If this is not something you struggle with, congratulations. But there are many people who do struggle with this particular topic that we're going to be discussing today. So for those of you that are listening and maybe you have loved ones who do experience this, I think it's always important for us to be educated in these type of topics, even if, again, we don't suffer personally from them, but that we know and love people who might be struggling with this particular issue we're going to call for today. So I want to first of all disclose that we're going to be using some research that I found both in my experience and online, and you can always Google and find out more information on this. I also want to let you know that just because it's a fact and somebody's saying it's proven, it doesn't mean that you can't undo it. It doesn't mean that you can't literally pick it apart and change it, right? This is what it's all about, right? All of you are here that are listening. I always talk about I'm working with those people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. So if you just say, oh, I have anxiety, oh, I have depression, oh, I just procrastinate, it is what it is. Oh, science is proven, yes. But science has also proven that you can actually change those things as well. So make sure that when you are trying to hold on, science said, that you look at it across the board, because I guarantee you that for every ailment, every mental illness, every infection or whatever there is an ulterior way of restoring your health. So I'm strongly going to encourage you guys not to slap labels on yourself and to really look at things a little differently. I hear a lot of people, it's been in my family forever. I understand that, right? But many of you are here to break that cycle. So my goal always is for you guys, again, to take a look at things a little differently. If you suffer with procrastination, I know that many people do beat themselves up about it because people say you're just lazy, you just put things off. And I'm here to tell you it's not the case, right? It's another one of those pre-wired type of mechanisms that we have in our brain. So we're going to talk about that. Grab a paper, grab a pen. I'm going to ask that we all kind of close our eyes and set the intention to get the best we can out of this information, to ask that we apply it to our life, and to also have compassion for those people that are going through something like this, because I know personally this was my issue for a very, very long time, and you don't feel good about it. And I want to make sure that we are very compassionate toward those people, one, because they do not know, two, because they are struggling with it themselves. Like, it's not just the comments that you make, it's the comments that we're hearing in our own head. So I want to put that out there, and I want to just shed light on this particular subject. And I'm also going to show you how to eliminate procrastination. So yay, whenever there's an issue, there's a solution. I strongly believe that. So grab yourself paper, pen, let's get ready. Let's set the intention for us to just be, all of us to be enlightened with this conversation and to learn something new and take away what we need to take away to help both ourselves and other people. So hi guys, thank you for joining once again. This is Coach Velia. Happy Thursday. Today, we're going to be talking about procrastination. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. We will be on Spotify and Apple in a little bit once this podcast is done. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My phone number is here on the screen, 760-221-3147. You can always email me at velia@coachvelia.com. And you can go on coachvelia.com for my information, some other goodies about me and the work that I do and the upcoming events. So make sure you guys take a look at that. Also on YouTube, I mentioned last week, we have a whole bunch of videos that have been published. Some are older, some are newer. Please feel free to look around, check to see if there's any information that you can use that may be valuable to you or somebody else. And then I am just asked to like and subscribe. Again, thank you guys for being here. I'm super excited to share this information with you guys today. What I tend to do is pick topics that I've, had both fortunate and unfortunate experiences with, because I really believe that when you speak from experience, it hits a little differently. And not to say that somebody who has never experienced, the topics that we've talked about can't be of use to you. But in my personal opinion, for myself, I just want to share the knowledge that I've attained, the lessons that, I have learned through many, many experiences and heartbreak and, much negative self-talk and healing through restoring my health through different, mental illnesses like anxiety and depression. And today we're going to be talking about procrastination. And I do strongly believe that many people don't understand what's all linked with anxiety. There are different things that take place in our life that many people don't decide to say, hey, I'm going to just not call that person. I'll just do that later. And it's not a matter of laziness, right? So we can look at people and say they're just being lazy. And that would be lovely if we can just slap that label on and that was it. But I'm here to tell you that most people who do struggle with it, it is a form of anxiety. So what they do is think about, what it's going to feel like to complete this task. And they don't like what it feels like, so they just avoid it. So it's not of like, oh, I don't feel like doing it, I'll do it later. It really is a detrimental emotion that you experience when procrastination hits, right? So number one, I'm not justifying anybody who procrastinates. So let's get that really, really clear. Because many people say, well, yeah, it's an anxiety thing and that's it. No. This is Coach Velia speaking, right? It has a lot to do with anxiety. Therefore, we know that we can also take care of that by exposing ourselves to the things that we don't want to expose ourselves to. So let's not get it twisted, all right? We're going to start off with that, and I might say it again, excuse me, during this episode to make sure that no one says things like, well, Coach Velia said it's a form of anxiety. If they know Coach Velia, they know anxiety is also something we tackle, so we can't use that, okay? So I want to let you guys know that right off the bat. Now, that's just in two. This doesn't mean that those of you listening, when somebody says they're procrastinator or whatever, and they say it's anxiety, you can't go around and say, yeah, but you could fix it if you wanted to, right? Because that would be super easy. Most people don't have the steps to get there. So we're going to read a couple things, and I want you guys to just take notes to really help you understand that there are many things in our life that we can't take control of. And what I don't want is for people to say things like, okay, point the finger at somebody else because they have an issue with procrastination, and yet you're struggling with something else, right? And I find that that's what happens. All of us as human beings tend to be observers of other people. And it's very easy for us to point other people's imperfections out. But, there's a lot of scripture that talks about, before you try to correct somebody else, remove the speck out of your own eyeball. But a lot of us would rather not think about our own things and pick on somebody else because it's easier. You can see it more vividly, number one. Number two, you can tell them how to fix it, right? Because you're over here and you don't have that problem. So I'm going to encourage each and every one of you guys, again, to have compassion when we're talking about these topics. And even though I can have solutions for a lot of the things, again, not everybody's ready. It's not their time, and they honestly don't have the energy or the want to change. So let's honor people with where they're at and the journey that they're choosing to walk at this time, and apply this information to yourself. Notice I didn't tell you, go tell somebody who suffers with procrastination to fix it, that they could fix it. No, I'm telling you that if you don't struggle with this, take compassion for those people that do, so you have a better understanding. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you guys. because the last thing I want is pointing fingers and you can fix it. Yes, there's a lot of things that we can reverse. But again, if this video hits somebody's ears and that's exactly what they needed to hear, then you did your part by sharing. So if that's what you want to do, also not, hey, you should listen to this, but with a loving heart and lots of compassion. Notice I say that a lot because I remember the horrible feelings that one felt when you did procrastinate. And I'll be sharing a couple of stories. I love to share stories because I know sometimes when we hear stories, things stick a little differently. Let's talk a little bit about what psychologists have found, and I put that in the description. They said psychologists have discovered that procrastination isn't a time management thing, but instead a coping mechanism. When we procrastinate, we're avoiding an unpleasant task and doing something else that gives us a temporary mood boost. This is the dopamine, okay? So what happens is this: if there are, people who procrastinate are avoiding it, right? And it's not because they don't have the time to do it. It's just kind of like, oh, I don't want to deal with it. Your mind kind of just goes in different places. And so what they would rather do is something else. Like I remember I had to do homework and I would tell myself, oh my gosh, I got this assignment done a month ahead of time. And I would sit there and open up my laptop and do research, and then nothing would come. And I remember being so upset because I so wanted to get things done, way before they were done. But I was always at one the night before getting those 12-page papers done. It was crazy. And I remember the adrenaline rush that I would feel because they were due at midnight. And what was I going to do? I could have failed, but it wasn't an option. So I remember being there, if it was an evening class, being there in the parking lot, finishing off the paper. When a month prior to that, I totally had the laptop open and I could have had it. I had the time, I had the research, but there just wasn't a switch inside of me. And I remember I was so mad because I'm like, why the heck can't I just spit this paper out? I have to do it anyway. And so if I knew then what I know now, I would have understood it was a coping mechanism. For what? For all the different things I had going on, right? And I also remember in those tasks, I would have to make sure my house was clean. I would make the excuse oh, I can't start my paper till all the dishes are done or till I dust my living room. I would just make excuses. And so, at that time, I thought it was just planned avoidance. But it's not. I was trying to get my dopamine fix by hurrying up and, washing the dishes or dusting, whatever, to get my fix, to hope that would motivate me to do something. And it would work temporarily. So there was a couple things that I tried before then. Okay. All right. And I want to share again those stories because I know you yourself or somebody else in your life, everybody knows somebody who has this issue. Everybody does. I don't care if you know 5 people, one person who has it. So again, we reach out for an energy boost instead. Oh, instead of doing something, I'm going to take a nap. And it's not, people can say, excuse me, people can say that's not energy. It's if you're somebody like me, when you take a nap, you get an energy boost, right? I prefer naps that are longer than shorter. But that is a boost that you get, that your brain kind of wants to prefer to choose that instead of doing the task that's going to bring the anxiety or the stress or whatever. Okay. So it shows here. So what kind of coping is procrastination? It says specifically, procrastination is an emotional focused coping strategy to deal with a negative emotion. It goes something like this. And I'll give you an example. We sit down to do a task. We project into the future about what the task will feel like. Many of us, not so happy, right? We sit down to do a task. We project into the future what about the task and what it would feel like. So we predict that the task will not feel good. It will stress us out or make us feel bad. So our emotional coping strategy kicks in to keep us away from this bad feeling. We avoid the task. Boom, right? So now that we know, let's tackle it, head on. Because again, it's not oh, I know that's why I do and that's it. No. This is why you do it. That's the awareness. Now let's tackle it. Right? So one could be, okay, what happened? I don't procrastinate anymore. How is that the case if that was me the majority of my life? The same way is the case that I did, struggle with anxiety and depression and a bunch of other stuff, right? For a long time, and I don't anymore. It's how does that happen? How do you just stop? Well, again, you can't just stop. You have to have a replacement behavior. Okay. So if I tell you that it gave me a high to go into, my kitchen and do my kitchen instead, I have to start typing something out, baby steps, right? Intro, title, start an outline, do something. I had to do something instead of getting up and actually going and avoiding the task altogether, because that's what procrastination is. You're avoiding a task that's going to make you feel like crap. who would not want to do that? Everybody does it, right? But for most people who do have the procrastination that's pretty much, highlighted in their life, what ends up happening is they give way to whatever it is they would rather do. So they don't sit there and create an outline. They don't sit there and take baby steps. They just avoid it altogether. And then when you can't avoid it anymore, here you go exposing yourself to all the emotions you were avoiding in the first place. Doesn't make sense, right? Like we can say, well, you have to do it anyway. What's the point? Just do it. And it would be great if it was that easy. But once you understand why you do what you do and you get your dopamine fix out of it, now you can start exposing yourself little by little, just like any other anxiety, you guys. Whatever brings you anxiety, you have to expose yourself to it little by little. So some people, again, will slap this label. Go for it. Still continue to procrastinate. It obviously works for you, right? But for those people who are sick and tired of being labeled, lazy or just upset with this negative self-talk and this vicious cycle, you need to start exposing yourself to the things you're avoiding to do, even if you know it's going to feel like crap, even though you're scared, even though you think you're going to fail. It doesn't matter. Start something. Take baby steps to make sure that you're not just allowing yourself to be this procrastinator, this person that doesn't care, this person that just doesn't, bother with anybody else's emotions. Because let me tell you, there are professionals who are procrastinators. So it's not going to prevent you from getting up in the ladder. It will prevent you from being more effective and efficient, and it'll prevent you from stress, because there are people who are very, very successful and carry this like a backpack. And yes, they get their task completed, but oh my gosh, is there so much stress involved? Stress, worry, fears, like everything you try to avoid, it comes anyway. And it's on freaking steroids. Like it's stronger than ever, right? So think about how that doesn't make sense, yet it makes sense when you break it down, right? If you're avoiding a task because you're going to feel like crap, but when you finally get it done, you're feeling like crap and everything else on top, one would say, why not just do it without having everything else on top, right? That's logical. But the brain doesn't think that way. Something else happens that kicks in where, guess what, all of a sudden, everything's shifting for you. You're not thinking about it. I remember back in the day, I would say something like, oh, people need to fall on their butts. Fall on their ass is what I would say. People need to really fall on their ass one day. Maybe they'll learn. Okay, I was super lucky that my procrastination didn't kick me in the butt, right? Many times I would get these papers done and got good grades on them. And I would say, oh my gosh, I could have gotten a better grade if I would have taken my time. And that was my way of thinking. But no, the adrenaline is what helped me get the tasks done and get it done as well as I did and get those grades. So again, we can still be successful. It's just your body goes through so much when you're trying to get these tasks taken care of. Okay. We have a question here. It's a comment. Like cleaning a kitchen, I can start with a section, then another day do another section. Is that okay? Yes, that's perfect. So I use a form of the paper that I wrote, but this is perfect. Thank you for asking that. So what happens is this. We think that, okay, well, it's not a paper I'm writing, right? Okay, boom, cleaning a kitchen. Now, you'll look at a kitchen and be like, heck, no, I don't want to clean that kitchen. But if you break it up into parts, it's not so overwhelming, right? So this is what I'm trying to tell you. The way you break it down in your brain, so procrastination does not become your design, or it's not forever your design, and it's something that you can break away from, is that you literally start just picking it apart. And I use this, people like, how do you eat an elephant, right? And what's the answer to that? One bite at a time, okay? But, those people with anxiety, like, oh my gosh, the elephant is never going to go away. And you're freaking out when the elephant can be eaten by everybody the same way, one bite at a time. So now your job would be to ask, what is each bite and what does it consist of? And this is when organization comes in. Like I'm really, really big on organization. And it's funny because I teach that to every one of my clients, whether or not they're organized in different areas of their lives. I make sure I explain to everybody the importance of organization, because your brain understands in compartments. If you give it a whole elephant, you overwhelm it. It doesn't matter how big the elephant is. It doesn't matter if the elephant is imaginary, right? We think, we know, the subconscious mind is there's a freaking elephant and no one's going to tell me there isn't one there. And so if I've never had eaten an elephant before, where do I start? So if they're task at home, I uploaded a series for Christmas, like 12 days of organization, where I literally broke it down. And your house could be organized and that's all fine and dandy, but is it as organized as, you taking it apart and going to every room in the house, right? Your paperwork. I mean, I talk about so many things. It was a 12-day series. So it's on YouTube if you guys want to go in there and take a look at it. And there's also an organization for brain dump, right? Because sometimes our brains are so crowded, they have so much information that we have to do a brain dump. We have to empty our thoughts. But I go further and not just say, dump your brain. Like, you don't just do that. What do you do with everything that you dumped? You have to organize it. You put it away. So what I do in these different videos is I show you how to first take everything out of your brain. I don't care what it is. And you keep writing until your brain has nothing else left to write. It's just done. You hear nothing anymore. And it's a crazy, awesome feeling. So definitely try it if you haven't. And then after we do this brain dump, I show you guys how to organize these thoughts. So I created a sheet and it's 4 squares. And in these 4 squares, you have 4 different categories in which you would put different items. And everything on that list should fit in these 4 different squares. And the squares consist of, like, your first square is things I can do now. Your second square is things I need help with. The third one is things I need money for. And the fourth one becomes your prayer or your manifestation list, right? There should be nothing on your list that does not fit into one of these 4 categories, right? So I don't care what it is. I don't care what thoughts you have or whatever. Throw them on a piece of paper. Right. Okay? And for those of you that are procrastinating, you need to trust this process. You need to trust the process that once you allow yourself to empty everything out in your head and you start training yourself to expose yourself to the things that make you uncomfortable, that you will start taking its power away. So if this is a monster, I want you guys to visualize this as a monster that comes and creeps up and scares you day, morning, night. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't just come out at night, FYI, right? Are you tired of hiding behind your blanket? Are you tired of sleeping in another room, right? Are you ready to face this head on? And I can tell you your procrastination tendencies will end because you would have exposed yourself to the negative feelings you're trying to avoid anyway. And does it happen overnight? No. The important is consistency, though. You have to start doing different to live different. And it's not so much like I'm going to tell you, say, stop doing it, because it's unrealistic, right? People all the time say, stop doing this and start doing that. Oh my gosh, I wish it was so easy. Okay, let me stop. Why didn't I think about that before, right? And we talk about it. It's like me telling you, stop thinking about a pink elephant. Don't think about a pink elephant. Don't. And everybody right now is thinking about a pink elephant. Because what does the subconscious do? Believe everything you tell it. So if you say things like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so late, I'm going to be so this, and it's going to be so bad, whatever, guess what? You're going to attract just that. So you need to start thinking differently. You need to start speaking differently to your life. You need to start doing differently. Think, speak, and do differently. You connect those 3 together, you guys, you're unstoppable. You're just unstoppable, right? And thought has everything to do. Attitude has everything to do with the results that you're going to get. So say you're going to work on turning in a paper on time, that you said by Friday, I'm going to clean this part of the kitchen, right? And you're already telling yourself, oh my gosh, I'd rather go to breakfast with my friends. Okay, that's okay. I'm not going to tell you don't go to breakfast with your friends. I'm going to say, get up, be positive about it. Remember, you're making a change. You're exposing yourself to something uncomfortable. I'm going to tackle this kitchen. And by such and such time, I'm going to call my friends and say, yes, we can go to breakfast, but I have to do this first. That's the number one thing that we have to do, is to not replace having fun with doing something that we have to do. Because of course, we'd rather pick that and avoid this. But guess what? You're going to come home and chances are your kitchen is going to be messier, that you're going to have more work to do. And you're going to say, oh, I should have just done it. Now I really don't feel like it. I'm tired. This is dumb. Now I have to make dinner. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? I'm so this, I'm so that. How many of you guys do that? Right? Let me tell you that most everybody that I've met, I think everybody that I've met that struggles with procrastination is very not nice to themselves. They beat themselves up. They hate that they do what they do. They hate the experiences that they have to experience. They hate the emotions that they have to feel. And they hate how they look to other people. They hate it. They don't sit there and say, oh, I'm lazy, I just don't feel like doing it. They cry. They cry over it. They don't like it. It's not fun. And this is why it's important for you guys to understand that there's underlying reasons for things. People just don't do what they do just because they wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to just procrastinate all day. I'm going to just be mean to that person. Oh, I'm going to make, somebody's life crappy at work today. They don't do that. We have internal triggers, each and every one of us. We're all healing. We're continuing to heal. We heal in layers. I get triggered. I struggle with things, right? The only difference is I stop, and instead of continuing to struggle, I stop and I ask myself, why am I struggling? Like I've shared with you guys, literally, if I wake up and my morning starts off weird, I go back to bed. I jump back in my bed and say, okay, reset, let's start this again. And many times I laugh about it. I have to. Before I would have been like, oh, well, I already messed up. Okay, tomorrow it's going to be a crappy day today, because it was just so easy to fall into that pattern. And I would put off doing everything else I was supposed to. Right? All right, we have a question right here. You're welcome, Jessica. I'm looking forward to you texting me later and letting me know that you tackled that part of the kitchen that you're wanting to tackle. All right, here we go. Here's another question. What do you do if there's a job opportunity that is extremely beneficial, except it's not lined up with your purpose, but the description does give good experience within the future goal? Okay, I think that's kind of a question that we ask ourselves. It's an ongoing question because things line up to us depending on where we are. And sometimes we think we're at a certain frequency, right? Like, oh, this isn't lined up. How do you know? Obviously, there's something there that's drawing you in. So, apologies, my throat's very dry this morning. Okay, so again, we can say things like it doesn't line up. But why is it beneficial? Look at your question. I want you to break down your question because we answer our own questions. I'm just a sounding board. Okay. So the question is, what do you think if there's a job opportunity that is extremely beneficial? Boom, already extremely beneficial. So that means your mind has gone somewhere and said, hey, there's some benefits to this, right? So already it's an alignment with what you're seeing because you saw a future that could be promising. Now, here we go again. When you're exposing yourself, because there's not everything about it is perfect, you're going to stick with it to see it through to make sure that it is exactly what you're seeing yourself doing right now. You already got a vision of what that looks like because look at what you said. So here we go again. What do you do if there's a job opportunity that is extremely beneficial? You should take something away from the extremely beneficial and think to yourself, how is this extremely beneficial? And write those things down. Except it's not lined up with your purpose. You don't know that yet because our purpose changes all the time. So I'm going to just put that out there. But the description does give good experience within the future goal. Okay. It's kind of like wanting to have this job of a professional something. Okay. You can't get that professional something job without having experience. The last time I sat down, I've had like 27 different jobs in my life. 27. I'm 45. I didn't stay at a job very long, but for a long time, I thought there was something wrong with me because I would get very bored, right? When I got the job, I was excited, then I would run out of excitement, and then I'm like, what am I doing here? I learned now that, all this was preparing me for what I do now for a living. I am a life coach. I'm a therapist. I have a whole bunch of different modalities. I do quantum healing. I do a whole bunch of stuff. And each and every one of those experiences, good or not, has created who I am right now. And there are people who walk through my office door who I see online, and when they say something, I can resonate with where they've been because I had so many different jobs. So we can say my purpose is to be a therapist. I used to do roofing. And now I know I can go back and say, oh my gosh, that job had everything to do with what I'm doing right now. Really, a job in roofing? Yeah. I remember I was there and I was figuring out how to layer things out, how to prevent them from leaking, whatever. Those are tools I use till this day. Roofing, when I was a contractor, insurance, real estate. I did so many different jobs, right? But I can pull from each one of them. And at that time, I could have felt it wasn't my purpose, right? But something attracted me to those jobs. When I was doing restorations, when I was helping people stage houses, flips, when I was doing painting, when I would restore furniture, I help restore lives now. So we can't say that it's not aligned with our purpose because we don't know what the ultimate purpose is. You have to go with what leads your heart right now. If there's an opportunity, sometimes it's worth to just go in there and do what you have to do. It might not be pleasant, right? It's not always fun, just like in procrastination. If you find, I'm going to ask you, if you find that you're doing this a lot with different jobs and opportunities, That could be a form of procrastination. Because we want, the golden ticket. We want, you want this job I have. Like, I've had people say, well, Velia's so lucky. She only works 2 days a week. And I said, luck has nothing to do with it. I've worked my ass off to position myself to where I am right now. I love my life. I get to travel. I have a lot of freedom. I'm working 100% online. I have a holistic healing center. I have practitioners that I'm privileged to help lead. Like, I do a lot, but it didn't happen overnight. So picture that as the experience, right, with a future goal. Because we can have a goal, but we can't get caught up in the steps, you guys. Sometimes we have to go through the mud to get to our mansion. And we don't know if this opportunity is going to be something that you're going to have to just be consistent in. Go, accept, do. When you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, decorate the tunnel while you're there. Remember why you started, why you even got this job, right? People are not going to be nice. Things are going to fall. You're going to freak out. You're going to be scared. You're going to want to quit. Yeah, we all want to. But can I tell you that every job that I had, when I was done, I was done. And I asked the job, what did you have to teach me? And I took all those lessons, good, bad, ugly. It didn't matter. Everything I did in the school systems before I started my own consulting company, right? I could be mad at a lot of people, the systems, whatever. What good does that do? I was so grateful and so fortunate to have been exposed to it, because now I can speak from a different light, from a different experience. And I've been so privileged to be an observer in many things. So when I do talk to people, I tend to put myself in people's shoes, different people's shoes. It could be 5 group of people, and I can put myself in the 5 different pairs of shoes because of the experience I allowed myself to experience. And again, they're not always pleasant. But if it's going to make me a better me, then damn it, sign me up for it. Sign me up. Why not? I've lived on the other side of complaining and procrastinating and, just being upset at things and myself and negative self-talk. I've done all that. The shit doesn't work. It doesn't work. Not if you're trying to get somewhere. You can either walk in a stream that's, running lightly, or you can walk through mud. You literally choose your path. And many of us think we're ready to make changes, but are you ready to make the sacrifices that come with it, knowing full well that it will be better on the other side? So either you choose to continue to struggle in the mud, or struggle a little bit, get out, take off those boots, rinse them off, and then choose a different path. Because you can walk in the mud as long as you need to. And my question to you is, why not get out of there faster, sooner rather than later? Because we can't see past our noses sometimes. So it's got to be something different. You're welcome. And thank you for asking that question. I know a lot of people struggle with that. It could be a job. It could be a relationship. It could be a number of things, you guys. Sometimes we just keep doing the same shit over and over again. It's like, why? Why when we're not getting what we want? You have to stop and ask yourself why. And you have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's exactly how we break things down, one chunk at a time. One question at a time, one day at a time. We get so caught up with 6 months from now and 2 months from now and next week. You're not there yet. But I promise you that week is going to look just like today if you don't do something different. I don't care if you think you sell light. If you're doing the same thing, it's not going to be on forever. How many times have you pursued the shiny penny to run and do the same crap you've been doing, and then you get there and it's like, crap, it's just a penny. But if you stay focused, if you stay exposing yourself to things that make you uncomfortable because you're tired of them being your monster, then stop feeding that freaking monster. Stop feeding it and choose something else to feed. Even if you don't know what it's going to look like, I promise you it's going to look better than what you're doing right now. So for those of you that are procrastinating, stop making excuses because you don't want to feel whatever. Feel it. Expose yourself. Build tolerance to emotions. And that's what it's about. You're going to build tolerance to being uncomfortable. Isn't that weird? The only way to beat it is to feel it. The only way to get rid of it is to expose yourself to it. What? Hug what I've been running away from? Yeah. That's what I'm telling you to do. But I don't like it. You don't like being a procrastinator either. But it makes me anxious. Yeah, and it's going to continue to make you anxious until you take your power away from it. Exposure is the best thing to do. You run and you do it all in one shot? No, you break it up into chunks. If you need help, reach out. This is something that is going to change your life if you want it. If you're tired of making excuses, if you're tired of doing the same thing over and over again, gosh, please be tired, because there's something so much better out there for you. You're worth it. It's doable. It's not as hard as you think. I promise you, it's not even hard. It's uncomfortable for a little while. But are you not already experiencing that? It's just on a different level, on a different path, one that gets you results. Thank you guys for watching today. Ooh, I got a little harsh towards the end, but oh my gosh, you guys, when you've seen the other side, oh my gosh. I was just talking to my niece and you know, she was talking about these friends that were doing different type of business opportunities. She goes, oh my gosh, yeah, they get so excited when they talk about it. They just want to tell me everything. I'm like, yes, we do. For those of us that have already been through the struggle and that have gotten on the other side and have developed something and are working towards our dreams and our goals, we are so excited to share with people. Oh my gosh, we'll talk to anybody who listens. Well, we shouldn't say anybody who listens. We'll talk to anybody who knows that that they're serious, because you already know. You know who's messing around and you know who's serious. You start learning that. The more you grow in your ability and your knowledge, you literally start learning who's serious and who's not. Because in the past, we would talk to anybody that would listen. Anybody. We'd be at the park and if somebody sat next to us, oh my gosh, guess how you can heal? That was me. Oh my God, I wanted to heal the world. Anybody and everybody. And I still want to do that, but not if they're not going to pick up their own trauma. Not if they're not going to do their own work. Not sustainable that way. But yes, we will tell anybody who's ready and we will show you the steps. I am currently accepting new clients. I forgot to almost mention that. I almost forgot to mention that. I am 100% online, so anywhere in the world. We do Zoom, different platforms. So if you are interested in one-on-one sessions with me, please reach out. Yeah, somebody mentioned here, it feels so good when you complete it. Yeah. And that's what we talk about, like swapping emotions, you guys. Like you're gonna feel all panicky when you're, oh my God, I don't want to do it, avoiding, and then when you get it done, oh my gosh, like you lost 1,000 pounds, like you have a brand new house, like you have a brand new outlook on life. And all of you have suffered, you know, with procrastination or not. You know what it feels like after you've been avoiding something like the plague. And you finally get it done, you're like, oh my God, that feels so good. And then what do you say? I should have done it a long time ago. I should have just done it. Because you would have avoided all the drama, right? Okay, now that you know it was part of your programming, and it is a form of anxiety and a coping mechanism, and that, yes, you were doing it because you would rather avoid the feelings, do you feel more empowered to handle it? Or do you want to continue doing what you're doing? Because that's definitely a choice. That's awesome. All right, reach out. Again, my phone number, my email, we are in a whole bunch of different platforms. Make sure you guys check us out. There's a lot of things coming in. We have the Empath Toolbox, which is my holistic healing center that's made up of 11 amazing practitioners that all have different modalities. We should put it here, but we are on the Empath Toolbox, social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, we're everywhere, YouTube. And we are doing spotlights, highlights on our amazing practitioners we started this week. If there's somebody that you resonate with, they all have YouTube interviews as well, so you can get to know them. So if it's not me, it's gonna be somebody else who can actually help you. You know, you can contact me for information if you're interested in one-on-one sessions. You can also look through any of the practitioners to see if anybody else better fits you. But there's help out there. There's a lot of help. These people are amazing. I trust them. I've had work done with all of them, and they're just amazing people. So we'll put it here. We'll tag the Empath Toolbox so you guys can reach out to any of those. Love you guys once again, and I'm going to leave you with a couple of questions, right? As always, I want you guys to ask you guys this question. I want you to start thinking about, do you have any patterns this self-awareness is going to require you to sit down and ask if there's any patterns that you find yourself contributing to daily, weekly, monthly, right? So what we're going to ask ourselves is, are there any tasks that you avoid? And when you start with that question, okay, are there any tasks that I avoid? And, it could be dishes, it could be, homework, it could be whatever, it could be cleaning, it doesn't matter. Things at work, what tasks do I avoid? And write them down. Be so raw with yourself. Just do it. Write them down. No one's going to see your piece of paper. Self-analysis, self-awareness, right? So write things like, what type of things do I avoid? And just start writing them down. And then I want you to think about, if you have any patterns. Because I can promise you it's not just one thing. If you procrastinate about one thing, it's probably a couple of things you procrastinate with, not just one. And so if you're avoiding the dishes like the plague and you're avoiding them, you're like, oh, whatever. And then you're finally doing it and you're complaining about it. You got it done anyway, but now you have a crappy attitude. Why? When you could have just done it when you were saying you were going to do it, and then reward yourself afterwards by taking a nap or having the lunch with your friends or lighting a candle or whatever. God, it's the best feeling in the world when you do something and you don't yell at yourself for not doing it. And gratitude plays a big role, you guys, because we can be like, oh my gosh, I have to wash these dishes and this, whatever. You have food. You have dishes to wash. You have running water. Swap it, you guys. Just swap it. I promise you it's going to make a huge change in your life when you just do things, even if you don't want to. It starts with one step. One dish. Making your bed. As soon as you grab a cup of coffee and you're done, like, okay, I'm done with my coffee, my tea, whatever, go wash your cup. You'll be surprised how much pours into your life because of it. And we're going to get into that next time. We think it's just washing a dish. It's creating different energy to have different things flow into your life. And let me tell you that the minute you stop allowing procrastination to rule your life, you will be poured into like you would not imagine, because now it knows you're going to be able to handle those things. Yeah, that's true. She made a comment. I don't think we reward ourselves afterwards. We don't. And that's exactly what the problem is. Because it's punishment the whole way through. I don't want to. Now I got to do it. Oh, great. Now I got to do something else. Not if you stop, take a deep breath, stay in gratitude, plan accordingly, and continue your next task. Not tasks, one at a time. And this is what I teach in individual sessions, like one at a time, task, write them down. I mean, we write things down, we schedule, we work, you have support, I call you, I text you, show me pictures, all that good stuff. And we get excited about it. And you get gold stars from Coach Velia. And those are freaking amazing gifts to get. All right, guys, have an amazing day. Thank you again for being here. I love you guys. I love that you're pouring into you, that you're learning, that you're growing in your own compassion and forgiveness and understanding. We'll see you guys here on Tuesday. Have an amazing rest of your day and an awesome weekend. Feel free to reach out, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.